A nuclear war. It's honestly one of humanity's greatest fears. A nightmare scenario that could reshape life on Earth forever. But what would actually happen if a nuclear war started? How would events unfold, step by step? And what would be the consequences for humanity and the planet? Welcome to Grossdenken, my friends. In this video, we'll explore a scientifically accurate and factual scenario of nuclear war, examining the immediate destruction, environmental impacts, and long-term consequences. Please help this channel grow by just subscribing. That will inspire me to bring science and informative contents more like this. Let's begin. Let's start with how a nuclear war could begin. The trigger could be escalating political tensions. A conflict between nuclear-armed nations, such as the United States, Russia, China, or others, could spiral out of control. There's also the risk of an accidental launch. A false alarm or technical malfunction could lead to an unintended missile launch. This almost happened back in 1983, when a Soviet early warning system mistakenly detected incoming United States missiles. Then, there's terrorism or rogue actors. The use of a nuclear weapon by a rogue state or terrorist group could provoke retaliation and escalate into a larger conflict. Once a launch decision is made, the situation could escalate rapidly due to the concept of mutually assured destruction, where nations retaliate to ensure their adversary is also destroyed. The first strike in a nuclear war would target key military and infrastructure sites. These include nuclear silos, air bases, and command centers to disable the enemy's ability to retaliate. Major cities, transportation hubs, and economic centers would also be targeted to cripple infrastructure. Now let's talk about immediate impacts. The blast wave. A single nuclear weapon can generate a fireball hotter than the surface of the sun, vaporizing everything within a few kilometers. The surrounding area would experience a massive shockwave, flattening buildings and causing widespread destruction. Thermal radiation, the intense heat would ignite fires over vast areas, and third-degree burns could occur up to several kilometers from the blast site. There's also radiation and fallout. The explosion releases lethal doses of radiation, killing people instantly or within days from acute radiation sickness. Radioactive fallout, which is particles of debris contaminated with radiation, would spread downwind, affecting areas far beyond the blast zone. Once the first strike occurs, the targeted nation would likely retaliate immediately. This is known as a second strike. Nuclear-armed submarines, bombers, and mobile missile launchers would launch their own weapons, targeting the aggressor's cities and strategic sites. This escalation could involve hundreds or even thousands of nuclear warheads. For context, the United States and Russia each have over 1,500 deployed nuclear warheads. A large-scale nuclear exchange could destroy most major cities in both nations and affect neighboring regions. The destruction from nuclear explosions wouldn't stop at the blast sites. A nuclear war would have catastrophic global consequences, including something called nuclear winter. The massive fires ignited by nuclear explosions would release millions of tons of soot and ash into the atmosphere. This, in turn, would block sunlight, causing global temperatures to drop by several degrees Celsius. Crops would fail, leading to widespread famine. Radiation fallout is another serious threat. Radioactive particles would spread across the globe, contaminating soil, water, and air. Long-term exposure to radiation increases the risk of cancer and genetic mutations. There's also the issue of ozone layer depletion. Nitrogen oxides released by nuclear explosions would damage the ozone layer, allowing harmful UV radiation to reach the surface. According to studies, even a limited nuclear war, like a conflict between India and Pakistan, could cause global temperature drops and disrupt food supplies for billions of people. The aftermath of a nuclear war would plunge humanity into its worst crisis. Survivors would face mass casualties. Tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, would die in the initial attacks. Many more would suffer from injuries, burns, and radiation sickness. The healthcare system would collapse, with hospitals overwhelmed and unable to treat the massive influx of patients. Food and water shortages would be inevitable, as contaminated water supplies and failed crops would lead to starvation and dehydration. And, a refugee crisis would unfold. Survivors fleeing affected areas would create chaos and strain resources in regions that were not directly impacted. In the long term, a nuclear war would leave the world unrecognizable. Entire economies would be destroyed, with global trade networks collapsing. Governments may lose control, leading to lawlessness and widespread violence. Radiation exposure could lead to birth defects and genetic mutations in future generations. It could take decades or even centuries for the environment to recover from the damage caused by nuclear fallout and soot. In the worst-case scenario, a nuclear war could lead to the extinction of humanity. So, can we prevent this doomsday scenario? Here are some measures being taken. Treaties like the Non-Proliferation Treaty, or NPT, and the New START Treaty aim to limit the number of nuclear weapons worldwide. Open communication channels between nations help reduce the chances of misunderstandings and accidental launches. Some countries and organizations advocate for the reduction or elimination of nuclear arsenals, and raising awareness about the consequences of nuclear war can pressure governments to pursue peaceful solutions. A nuclear war would be a catastrophe like no other, threatening billions of lives and the planet's future. While the threat remains, it's up to humanity to ensure that such a scenario never becomes a reality. Through diplomacy, education, and disarmament, we can work toward a safer, nuclear-free world. What are your thoughts on nuclear disarmament and global peace? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more content about science, history, and global challenges. Until next time, stay informed and stay safe.